It's the Lockdown Flyers podcast for Friday, October 31st, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is really pleased with the home winning streak the Flyers are putting together, but a little nervous about some things going on.
Yeah, the home cooking's good, but yeah, there's more to work on.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade, and I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 20 years, Russ Cohen. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, there is so much going on right now with the Flyers. So much happened yesterday. We had a trade, we had an injury, we had a call up, we had another call up, and then we had a game to play. So we are going to get to the Sam Ersson trade, the implications of Sam Ersson being on IR and all of that a little bit later in the show, as well as preview the first weekend back-to-back of the season as well. The Flyers did defeat the Nashville Predators 4-1. And I think, we got two things from the Flyers in this game that we specifically asked them to do, right? We got a set play, which is something you brought up,
I know.
right? That they
I
hadn't
saw it and I
scored
was like,
anything.
oh, look at that.
I know, a set play on the power play, just like we asked for. We got a goal from the blue line, just like we asked for with Jamie Drysdale. And, I think you look at the shot total for this game and it was completely lopsided in favor of the Predators. And the fact that the Flyers won this 4-1 is kind of a miracle in a lot of ways. We'll get to the Dan Vladar of it all, but I think you're just getting those two things was really important in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the zone time is not a surprise. I brought it up in the preview. It's like this is what Nashville does, and they did not control the zone really for most of the game, but they got some goals, some timely goals, and some great goaltending, and that was enough because Nashville's not a great team. Like they get all the zone time, but they can't score, and so
it's true.
So that really derailed them because they were for half a game they completely controlled it. So this is just a weird one. I don't take too much out of this as far as it's nice to see the good things, but I could see what Nashville did that was just pretty ugly too. And it's just you got a home win. You want to rack up the home wins, and that was good.
Yeah, I think, part of what bogged the Flyers down was just they had the puck control issues. And it wasn't just that Nashville is good at that. It's that the Flyers were making some mistakes. They could not get the breakout together. The zone exits were just atrocious for the first half of the game, I would say. And,
Andrae was making a couple good passes. But a lot of them were just short, bad, 2-3 guys trying to do it.
Yeah, they did get it together in the second period a little bit, and that's kind of what broke the game open, for sure. And then in the third period, I think it was more of a mix, but still, Nashville had a lot of zone time.
They did
in there as well. I think it's really tough when somebody like Sean Couturier goes out early in the game because it does derail your lines and things get shuffled and whatnot. And so I do really appreciate that the team was able to pull together and make it work because this team is so early in the process of putting their system together and building chemistry. And when things get upended like that, sometimes it can go very badly. And so I do give them credit for making those adjustments mid-game.
Yeah, no question. I mean, if they had gotten average goaltending in this game, it might have been going to overtime or a loss. I think that's just the way it was. Getting the above average goaltending really kind of bailed out everything else that they were doing, good and bad. And that's what you need sometimes.
Exactly, and, Dan Vladar just once again outstanding in net, and I think, like, one of the things that I'm so impressed by with his game is his positioning
Mhm.
in when shots are coming in from really short and up close, because it's sometimes hard to know how to take a away the most space there because you know the shot is coming right away and to get into that position, but he's super quick. And he just has this instinct for knowing where it's going to come from. And, most of the time he'll make the saves. Occasionally he won't. But I think, that's the case with almost every goaltender out there. I just appreciate his calmness in net and just getting to the right spot at the right time.
Yeah, he doesn't panic. I mean, there is a fine line, like you said, time-wise, why, it's just that's just the way this league is. But I would also say that I think um, you have to just hope he can keep making these last second saves because, sometimes that'll go against you too. Not because he's bad, just because that's the way it goes sometimes too. Teams start scouting you heavily. And so, yeah, as he continues to get the lion's share of the starts, which he will, that's
Yes.
something now that he's going to be up against is the league figuring out the Flyer system and what he's doing because like they're not going to use old tape on him. They're going to look at new stuff.
Right, especially to your point with the Flyer system and
Right.
how their defense has struggled a little bit with the
Right.
structure thus far. But you look at Dan Vladar, 6 games, 4 wins, 939 save percentage, 1.67 goals against average. That's what we've been asking for from a Flyers
Yeah,
goaltender for
sure.
these many years, and so far we're getting it, and it just feels so nice. I have to say,
Yeah, it's
for
great.
once.
It's really great. He is a young guy, so like I'm not going to
Mhm.
say that I know he's going to do this all year, but if he could
Right.
battle the ups and downs, he's going to have a really good season. I do want to also get into something real quick. I'm just going to derail this one because this has been going on online because we know Trevor Zegras is having a great start to the season. You don't have to rush and sign this guy. He's an RFA for next year. Don't rush and sign him like you signed Owen Tippett. Wait until you see like 50 games and what he's going to
Yeah.
do for those 50 games because that will cost you more if you try and do it now. You'd rather pay for what you're sure of. And that was the thing that they did with Tippett is they really did sign him too soon. And they have to kind of not do that now with both these guys, Drysdale too, because you need to really get a really long look. You have that
Yeah,
opportunity.
I agree, and I think if they're gonna extend him, I wanna see where we're at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I think that's about the right time to sign
Yeah.
the deal, assuming he continues to play generally well like this
Yeah.
for the season, but yeah, he's doing a bang up job, now the team leader in points, and, he's put in the work to deserve that, like, he's doing the things that he has to do,
Yeah,
and
he's
it's
the best guy
paying
on the
off.
team.
Absolutely. Now, Matvei Michkov, I'm very pleased with what we saw from
Yeah,
him
that was
in
his
this
best
game.
game.
Yeah, hands down, and I feel like this is something he can build off of and hopefully
Mhm.
get something in the back of the net, during the game as opposed to the shootout. But both assists were tremendous plays, and I think he showed, some really good instincts throughout this game, so very happy with that.
But they can't seem to get 3 of them online at once. Tippett did not have a good game.
No.
And
That man,
and
that breakaway, it was just the wrong move. It was
it
the
was.
wrong move.
It made it so much easier for Saros, and then he also pretty
Yeah.
much led to that first goal too, the only goal for Nashville. That was a bad play on his part. So it's like you gotta get them all going at once. That's hard. I don't know why it shouldn't be that hard because 'cause they're talented guys, but it
Yeah.
seems to be a battle.
I do think Tippett was thriving with Couturier in there, and I think he may have suffered from,
Maybe.
the
But
shuffle of
he
it
at this
all.
point, like, sorry, he's gotta do it on his own.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
do think, like, I wanna see what happens if Couturier is out, any
He's gonna be out
further.
for at least a few games because we'll talk about it later, but he's not coming in next game. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, especially with the back-to-back, you
Right.
might wanna rest him. So, we'll see what happens with that. Do you wanna talk about Jamie Drysdale, who had another very good
Mhm.
game?
Yep.
Again, he was the blue liner who got on the board, and he was taking the shots just like we asked him to do. And I think this is just another game to add to the deck of building confidence and building a discipline to his game that's really showing on both sides of the puck.
I think the game was really good, but on the Nashville goal, I didn't like the path that Drysdale took to try and help Nick Seeler, who kind of flubbed that one. And that's the problem, I think, is if Nick Seeler screws up, will Jamie Drysdale be able to cover for him? So far, he has not shown me that.
Yeah, I think that's an individual play, and unfortunately, it led to that goal.
Yeah.
But I think for the
It's not
most
his
part,
fault.
he looked
I'm just
good.
saying he didn't
Yeah.
do anything to kind of curtail it either.
I suppose that's a fair point. I do think his game was good overall, though.
It was.
Emil Andrae, we mentioned, he showed out, I think, pretty well for
Yeah.
the call up, made some really good plays, really good passes, like you said. When in the early goings, the Flyers were not looking good offensively. The few bright moments we saw, Emil Andrae was probably part of a lot of them.
He was definitely helped them with moving the puck up the ice. And then the less he was playing, the more they were kind of like struggling with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it was an interesting game, I think, with especially given how lopsided it was, like I said. But all's well that ends well,
Yep.
and not a spooky game.
No, it was not.
Not a trick, we got a treat. So
Yeah.
that
Good
was
costumes too. I saw some nice ones.
Yeah, it was a good one. But we do have to talk about Sam Ersson and all of that. Plus, we saw a Samu Tuamala trade and a Jett Luchanko update we got to get into. So we are going to talk about all of that coming up next. Hockey season is in full swing and nothing beats being in the arena for those games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in online queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on the Flyers. And that's where Gametime comes in. It's the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. One of my favorite features is you can see exactly what your view looks like before you buy the tickets with their in-app seat view feature. Their zone deals are also a game changer. You pick the section, Gametime picks your seats, you can save big. You can even find NHL tickets for under $25. I recently used Gametime to grab seats for a concert, and it couldn't have been simpler. I had great seats in minutes. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. On our Monday show, we will catch up on the weekend back-to-back with the Toronto Maple Leafs and Calgary Flames coming to town, a couple of Canadian teams and some old friends that we will see there. A little nervous about that part of it. Plus, we will have our nemesis of the week. Now, the Sam Ersson injury is something that's of pretty significant concern here, right? Because it was enough to put him on IR. It's not just a day-to-day situation.
No.
We know he's had those groin issues in the past, and to have him kind of derailed this early in the season it's a little concerning.
It's concerning. I mean, I didn't know exactly what the injury was. None of us really know for sure. But when he went out like that, I'm like, all right, this isn't great. And then the next day they put him, on IR. So now it's kind of like, okay, I could see him being shelved for at least a couple weeks. So, Alexei Kolosov's up. He'll definitely get one of the two games over the weekend. But then again, how much are you going to put on Dan Vladar? Like, that is going to be the question here. And maybe it's going to depend on how Kolosov plays. But let's just say, for argument's sake, Kolosov plays average. Like, what would they do? I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, so far, Kolosov, 5 games into the AHL season, has a 2.6 goals against average, 918 save percentage. So, obviously it's the AHL, but
Yeah.
much better stats than he had at the NHL level last year. That is for sure. He definitely looks better, I will say, in the games that I've seen him play. The most recent game, the Phantoms lost 3-0. 1 goal was scored per period. One of them was a power play goal. It was a rough game for the Phantoms overall, so I don't really want to put too much of it on Kolosov, to be honest.
Okay.
But I think, there's reason for optimism and there's reason for concern with Kolosov, as we've seen. There just isn't a track record of success at the NHL level,
Right.
and we're going to have to see.
I think the concern is the rotation now.
Yeah. It is. I think, for this weekend in the immediate, presuming
They'll
Sam
get past
Ersson
that.
is not available, I think, you almost want to put him in against Calgary as the weaker
Right.
option of the two offensively. But at the same time, there's a couple of guys there that know him pretty well. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation as far as
Yeah.
throwing him into the fire, so to speak. But he's a pro, and we're going to have to see where that goes. But the Flyers defense is certainly going to have to play better than they did in this game against Nashville.
And they were blocking a lot of shots. They're
in
going to
that.
have to continue to block a lot of shots, but they're going to have to be quick on the clears because Kolosov's going to leave some pucks out there too.
Yeah, I think that is for sure. We'll have more on the back-to-back in the next segment. We had a trade occur, and this is something that we foreshadowed a couple of weeks ago on our Phantoms Tuesday segment. We interestingly, offline, Russ and I talked about not mentioning Samu Tuomaala this week because we just figured he was done and not worth talking about. And sure enough, here comes the trade that took place with the Dallas Stars for Christian Kyrou, who is Jordan's brother, by the way. And I think, obviously we just knew that Samu Tuomaala had kind of run his course with the organization. Yeah, it's for his own good, and hopefully a change of scenery will help him.
Yeah, I mean, the Dallas Stars organization is a safe haven for Finns. So if there's any place that he's going to be able to come out of this, it'll be there. If he doesn't, then he's probably done in North America. But, I hope the best for him. Christian Kyrou is okay. Like, he's a good puck moving guy, good offense, never impressed me defensively. He's probably below average defender. I don't worry about the 5'11" part, but again, it's interesting how now the Flyers got him and he is 5'11" because they already have some other guys like that. So what that tells me is he's strictly a Lehigh guy and he's not getting called up.
Oh, sure. I would never have expected him to get a call up.
I mean, he's in the organization. They're not expecting to really even have him for the Flyers next year either. Like, this is just like AHL and hey, we're trying to help our AHL team here.
Right. And it's more to give Tuomaala the fresh start, and whoever they got back, they got back. I think it was smart of the Flyers to get a defenseman just because they're shorthanded in Lehigh again with the Bonk injury there. So
an interesting note, because I do talk to a lot of different people at the rink and otherwise. I do sit next to a Finnish reporter. I was talking to him about Sami Kapanen, and he said, yeah, Sami Kapanen's coaching now. And I kind of wonder, it was Sammy's job to actually, if you remember, kind of rehab Tuomaala, and unfortunately that was too much to ask of Sammy. So I don't know if that's why he got
crazy, but
I know, but I remember hearing it. Like, that was like a big focus. And I don't know if that's why he left, but I wish him the best too. I didn't realize he was gone.
Yeah, that is an interesting development from the European development perspective there. But yeah, I think this is definitely just to shore up the blue line depth for the Phantoms, in terms of choosing to get a defenseman in return.
It is a right-handed shot, so if that helps him offensively a little bit, sure, why not?
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Phantoms also had to call up Yaniv Peretz, a goaltender from Reading, to deal with the Kolosov call-up, and that is going to hurt them too. So we'll see how he does this weekend, because there is a back-to-back for the Phantoms. We will talk about that on our Phantoms Tuesday segment next week on the show. We also had a whirlwind around Jett Luchanko. We thought, that was going to quiet down now that he was officially sent back to the OHL. But within a 2 to 3 hour period yesterday, it was seemingly a done deal that they were going to trade him to Windsor. But then hours later, he was announced as co-captain of Guelph. So go figure. What do you think happened?
I don't think anything happened. I didn't think anything was happening. I just felt like this was just chatter that got out of control. And, and I saw people asking online, then why would they make him co-captain? And I'm like, because he has missed a lot of the season. You can't just let a guy walk in and just make him full-fledged captain again when he's missed all this time. Making him co-captain is still a nod that, hey, you're very important to us. But like, you can't just do that. Like, it's not a great thing for the team.
Well, and
So
apparently it was something that came from the players and Charlie Paquette, who's the
yeah.
other co-captain, that it was something they decided
No,
together,
and that's the right way. I think
went to
they
the
made the right
team.
decision. I think that's how you keep team unity, because otherwise it looks like, hey, this guy, was out for a while because he's trying to make it in the NHL. Now he's here and he's captain. Like some people, it's not the greatest look.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if that continues, if a trade does happen
I mean, it could
at
happen
some
down the
point.
line. I just didn't think it was happening like that moment. I didn't feel it in my bones. I have no, sources on this.
All right. Well, hopefully Jett Luchanko has a great season in the
Yeah, that's what we're
OHL
looking for.
wherever he plays,
That's right.
and we will keep track of how he's doing, especially as we get closer to World Junior and the implications of that. In the meantime, the Philadelphia Flyers do have their first back-to-back of the season coming up this weekend against Toronto and Calgary. We're going to talk about that coming up next.
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the season or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who'll score to the next fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you could even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at the bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Again, I'm going to go with the Brooklyn Nets as the worst record in the league. I think that's a good bet. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
All right. So, two very interesting Canadian teams will be coming to Xfinity Mobile for the weekend. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are a fraught organization always and forever, right?
Sure.
And I think, losing Mitch Marner has been a significant change to this team. I think it has affected them. I think the other thing that has affected them is not having Wall in net.
Yeah.
I think that was something they didn't really plan for very well,
No.
to be honest. And I think that is going to have long-term effects on this team. And, they're not the worst, but they're just not playing up to snuff in what you would expect from this Toronto Maple Leafs team.
Yeah, I think their play has been up and down. They're definitely going to score goals. Like, they score goals. I don't think
Right.
whoever plays goal against them for the Flyers, I don't think they're going to shut them out. But, some of their play has been lacking. They've been getting great play from Matthew Nyes. They're getting really good play still from Austin Matthews. William Nylander's having actually a terrific season, but he missed a game.
Yep.
Do we know that he's out next game? We really don't. I
We
don't
don't
know.
know.
So it's hard to figure out what he's going to be when the team comes in. That one I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is that some of the other players seem to be starting to wake up. There definitely was going to be, like you said, in that adjustment period. And I think by the time they get here, I think they're going to be more closer to adjusted than the shaky Leafs of a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Matthew Nyes, I think, is one of those guys that's going to have a huge impact on the Leafs this
Yeah.
season, especially with Marner gone. I think the
Yeah.
opportunities for him are going to be greater. And so, yeah, I don't think this is a team you can take a minute's break with. The Flyers are going to have to be on point the entire game, especially defensively. They're going to have to play better than they did against Nashville, just buttoning things up to look kind of like they did the previous previous few games in terms of limiting shots and driving play to the outside and being much better on the breakout and just getting it out of the zone more effectively.
Yeah, this will be a big test for Noah Cates going up against probably Austin Matthews. The other thing, though, is like when the Flyers exhaled and Matthew Wood got that goal, they gave that space to Matthew Wood, who's known to have a great shot. You can't do that with 2 or 3 of the Leafs. Like if they have those moments where all of a sudden it's not quite, the defense isn't quite on it, they could have a problem. So they're going to have to be on it, like you said. They're going to have to be more aggressive and faster.
Yeah, John Tavares especially is one to, pick and choose his shots very well, especially against the Flyers. We have seen that in the past.
He's got a career off it.
Right. So I think that is going to be, a pretty big factor there as well. Not sure who we're going to see in net there, but I think regardless of who it is, the Flyers are going to have to really push hard. I think, without Couturier, it's going to be a challenge for them in terms of the two-way game. But, the matchup itself in terms of stats is like pretty even, except for the goals for part of it there. But the one weakness that the Leafs have that the Flyers can really take advantage of is the blue line. It's just weak overall. And like Phil Myers, like as a top pairing
they have with
defenseman for the
injuries,
Leafs,
they've had to use him, and he's hands of stone. So you could take advantage
we
of
know
a matchup against him. Oh yeah, no, that's a big thing. I still think they're decent though, but they're just not as strong defensively as last year. As far as goaltending goes, Stellaris already has got like ice packs on his knees after games. So he's already on a pace. Like this is what I don't want to happen to Dan Vladar. Like he's had to play the lion's share of the games. But Hildeby is a really good goalie too. He just, a lot of people don't know him, but he has good size. So I don't think either one in net is not going to be a picnic, but neither other one of them is like a stalwart either.
Right. Now, the Calgary Flames, on the other hand, they played at the same time as the Flyers did last night. They lost to the Ottawa Senators in a shootout 4-3, but they are a healthy team. That is one thing you can say about Calgary is, they're at full steam for whatever that means for the Calgary Flames. And they have, of course, Dustin Wolf in net, and they've been riding him really hard for the season thus far. Obviously, Wolf and Vladar know each other very well, and so Vladar can scout out Wolf for the Flyers. We've got Farabee and Frost on Calgary. There's a lot of familiarity in this game.
Yeah, I mean, since you already said that they're riding Wolf hard, I can continue with the Stampede kind of comments and say that they're going to be fast out of the gate. They have a lot of speed on this team, guys like Coronado and such. So you really have to watch out for their passing and for them finding that open ice. They're going to be looking for that open ice. They're a team that has had a rough start, but I think they're better than the sum of their parts. And I think you are going to look for Morgan Frost to like kind of ratchet up his game. Joe Farabee, like he's having not a great season, but I'm not as worried about Joel Farabee, but Frost for sure. He's starting to pick it up, and he's good at faceoffs. He's good in transition. Like there's going to be things that they have to watch out for. So yeah, I mean Zane Parekh, I mean he is hard to cover. He is similar to Lane Hudson as far as his mobility and his ability to make offensive plays happen. So that's another thing they have to watch out for. And Nazem Kadri, who's a big pain in the neck,
is off to a very good start this season for Calgary as well. One thing that is not great for Calgary is their power play. They are, in fact, last in the league in their power play. And I think it could give the Flyers some power kill opportunities in this one with the weakness of that Calgary power play. And so, it's a question without Sean Couturier there, whether or not they can do that because Couturier provides that insurance.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So now more stress goes on Noah Cates, honestly, and they're putting Zegras in the middle. If some other, like if Cates or somebody else takes a penalty, now all of a sudden you're down to Zegras. So that could be a concern. for
Yeah,
faceoff.
but again, not an especially strong blue line there either.
No,
So
but they
I
have
I
some
think
guys.
yeah, they do. Like Uyghur's fine,
Yeah, Uyghur's good. He's really good.
so I think it's a middle of the road kind of NHL defense there, and
Mhm.
I think the Flyers are going to have to pick it up a little bit
Yeah.
and kind of look a little bit stronger than they did against Nashville overall. But I do think that given that it's the second half of the back to back. They're going to have to make sure that their defense is buttoned up.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, you definitely can't play Delorier in a back-to-back, right?
No.
So I wouldn't play him in either game, but I mean, if you're gonna play him, I guess you're gonna play him against the Leafs. And even Hathaway back-to-back, I'd be a little worried about that.
Yeah, and I think that's, kind of in some ways the price you pay for putting Delorier in, and then you have Couturier get injured. That's almost like losing two forwards in a
Right.
way,
Yeah.
in terms of the rotation and, having to double shift a lot more guys because you
Oh,
were
yeah.
never going to play Delorier that much.
Right.
I would surmise that Delorier would not play either of those games if
Yeah.
for Tuckett were doing the smart thing.
But we'll see, because sometimes they want the tough guys in there.
Well, we will find out and we will talk about it on our Monday show when we recap these games. Plus, we will have our new nemesis of the week. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. You can send in your mailbag questions or Flyers thoughts to any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. It's every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. You can get local analysis on a national scale with NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great Halloween weekend, everyone.